And Minister, I want to also, on behalf of the Rural Independents, pay tribute to the late Tommy Gorman, wonderful journalist, wonderful person, and indeed he visited Tipperary, the Circle of Friends Cancer Care, gave up his time there only some months ago, and was in my own parish some weeks ago as well. Wonderful man, and he's near every lay here down Oireach. Minister, the response of your government and TDs that the EU will take care of us and that we cannot go it alone in relation to the migration issue is naive in the extreme. There are lots of measures that Ireland can take independently, and people do not realise that the EU is part of the problem. It is fundamentally undemocratic to vote a pact as a whole when each measure was voted on and debated separately in the EU, indeed for a period of 10 years. As I said, why the indecent haste? Why is the rush? There's no time limit on voting on this pact, so why do we rush to vote tonight here in the Chamber after so little scrutiny? I do not believe this is what the Irish people voted for in the Lisbon Treaty back all those years ago, namely that the government, the government with a whip, would mandates, would use such measures as the whip to usher in the Migration Pact 15 years later, which will bring about a life-altering situation for the Irish people without resource to either judicial scrutiny or another referendum so that the people can vote on. Article 29, 4 and 7 of our Constitution, which authorises the Oireachtas to vote in this measure under Protocol 21, does not absolve any member of this House, of the Oireachtas, from their fiduciary duty or indeed moral responsibility to the people of Ireland to ensure that any and all such measures which affect the people will have had the benefit of judicial scrutiny and or an opportunity to vote in a referendum on this issue. It is morally reprehensible, I believe, and negligent of all such members of the House to vote in this pact in such circumstances, and by so doing, deny the opportunity to the Irish people to have the constitutionality of this pact tested by the courts. This is not what the Irish people voted for in Lisbon, by a long shot. This pact will involve the single transfer of our sovereignty, biggest transfer of our sovereignty in the history of our state. To give that away in a simple vote without any scrutiny or consideration of the constitutional implications will go down in the history of the state as the greatest ever betrayal of the Irish people by their own members of Parliament. And if this Migration Pact is voted in and we opt into this pact, we can never opt out. Thereafter, because the necessitated obligations in clause Article 28(4)(6) of our Constitution will apply, and these measures can never be tested by the courts, and our fate is set.
Corla, and thank you, Deputy, for raising this. The EU Pact on Migration and Asylum will be a game changer for Ireland. It will speed up the processing of asylum seekers so that we have a firmer and a fairer system. It will make it easier to return those who are found not to be entitled to protection. It will introduce greater security checking of applicants. Ireland can't do this on its own. We need cooperation, and we need other countries to be willing to accept people who shouldn't be processed here. It does not mean that the EU will make the decisions for us. This pact offers us all in Europe a real opportunity to work together to design a system that's firm but fair, based on a fair sharing of responsibility that works for everyone. We are not waiting for the pact to take effect to make changes. A significant increase in processing in the IPO. There's accelerated processing for designated safe countries, with 8 further countries under review. That has reduced applications by 50% from those countries. Steps to reduce the numbers arriving without documents are down by 34%. The review of airline fines are underway, and plain doorstep operations are underway. We have introduced visa controls on a number of additional countries, with further countries under review. We have increased the focus on assisting people to leave. The Dáil and the Seanad are fully debating approving Ireland's request to opt into the pact, and I have to say that all extra speaking time has been allocated for this week. If approved, Minister McEntee will start to prepare the general scheme of new legislation to replace the International Protection Act 2015, and an implementation plan will be launched. And then, when that new scheme is complete and is prepared, that will go through all the houses of the Oireachtas. It will be subject to pre-legislative scrutiny. It will then go through the houses of the Dáil here, and then through the Seanad. So there will be loads more opportunity for people to give their views on it. And can I just say, Deputy, that you referred to our health service. You well know, and I well know, that our health service would not operate without migration into this country. And we benefit every day. Well, you mentioned it earlier, we benefit every day from people who come to work in this country. Migration plays an essential role in our society and our economy. We have a rules-based immigration system that's both firm and fair, and it's vital to ensure the integrity of that system and that it is robust enough to cope with complex and fast-changing migratory patterns. And that pact will do just that. Thank you.
But I do acknowledge the wonderful service that the nurses and doctors and all kinds of specialities given. I've been beneficiary myself of that, but you're trying to distract me, and I never mentioned it today. Minister, the people voted in 2009, the Lisbon, and they didn't vote for this. That's one thing sure and certain. So your government has scant regard for articles of the Constitution or the people's decision, as far as I'm concerned. And why are we rushing this? You said there will be legislation, yes, but if we vote opt into this tonight, we can never opt out. That's as clear as the nose on our faces. We can never opt out. So you're denying. You talk about debate. There was no debate here in this House. There was statements. There was no questions, answers, none, and no proper scrutiny. One meeting of the committee where the minister was unable to answer any questions, and that day I was there myself. And then the next meeting of the committee, kind of an add-on, brought in all the NGOs to wheel them out to tell us what we weren't doing right. The people who are running this country now, the NGOs. But this, in fact, is a total betrayal of the people of Ireland to vote this in by this Oireachtas without going to the people or having it tested in the High Court. And I couldn't be emphasised that strong enough. Surely it's such a serious issue that took 10 years in the EU, and we're going to vote here after 3 or 4 days debate without any questions and answers, I said, or any scrutiny. That is bad lawmaking, and it's bad for our people, and it's ceding majorly our sovereignty. And that's, literally, in my opinion, is shameful and criminal. Thank you,
Cancala. Deputy, there were 6 hours in committee on this debate on the EU Migration and Asylum Pact. 6 hours in committee, and yeah, there was 6 hours in committee. And believe it or not, you must have known, but they ran out of speakers. I understand, and all the speaking time was given here. There was extra speaking time allocated last week. If I remember, we had a vote on it. I think you voted against that extra time. I think so. So there was open-ended time yesterday. So there has been ample time to discuss this. There's been ample time. And as I said to you there earlier, the legislation, when it's ready to go through the Houses, there will be more than sufficient time then too, because you'll be able to go to pre-leg scrutiny, then you'll be able to have second stage, then you have committee stage, then you'll have report stage in the Dáil, and then you'll have final stage. And then when you finish all that, you can go to the Seanad. Well, you can't go to the Seanad, but there'll be an opportunity for the Seanad to debate. So there's a lot of time there, Deputy. I don't know. Look at...
No, please, Minister, without interruption. That concludes